Welcome back to another week of the Vantage Point. As you all know, I'm your host, Azandi of Righteous Jules, and this is your Conscious Podcast. Here we inspire Nubian Melanites all across the globe to look at their lives, look at the world from a different vantage point. A vantage point that propels them towards awakening and liberation through action. So that means the things that you hear, the conscious information that you absorb, you have to put it into action. So we bring on different scholars, philosophers, theologians, organizations, religious conscious organizations specifically. One that will be on with us tonight to help give us the tools necessary towards fighting racism, white supremacy. Each and every day it's a battle. Each and every day it's a fight. The inner battle, and then, of course, the physical battle that we endure every day. So we bring on different people. So today's episode, and I hope everyone is having a great start to their weekend. And I want to, just start off everybody. We have 5 guests, I believe, today. So I just wanted to kind of be a little more relaxed if possible. And so we're going to bring on some of the men of the Nazarite Society, the Nazarite Brotherhood, Nazarene Brotherhood. And we're going to be speaking about manhood being put to rest, right? And so that means that something happened to it, that it's put to rest, and that it needs to even be revived to begin with. And so we have an important message because this doesn't just apply to men, but it applies to us as women, because these are our fathers, these are our brothers, these are our uncles, these are our husbands, these are our children, and of course to the men themselves. So this is important to the family. We don't believe in, the woman alone or the man alone, but we believe in the family, the Black Nubian Melanite family as a whole, which is inclusive of father, mother, and child. So we're going to have some fathers with us today. We're going to have some brothers with us today. And hopefully this message is enlightening to our audience. And I would like to start bringing everyone up. And some of these faces today are going to look familiar to you because they have joined us previously on the Vantage Point, with the addition of our brother John O'Neill here. Welcome to the Vantage Point, everyone, especially your brother John O'Neill. This is your first time on. So welcome, everyone. Today we're going to have this conversation. And before we get into this conversation, there is a conference coming up, right? Which is another reason why you all are here today. And this is the Christ Consciousness Conference. Specifically, the theme this year is reviving manhood. In last year's theme, there were conversations around kind of bringing that consciousness, that Christ consciousness, back into the church, the mosque, the synagogue, and just to individuals who don't even believe in religion. And some of the things that were spoken about were why young people kind of veer away from the church, and how do you bring that sense of community back to the church. And so this year's theme is reviving manhood, which is very important. So we're gonna get into manhood. So first off, before we start, if possible, Reverend Dr. AJ Rama, it is an honor to have you with us today. Can you tell us why this is even necessary, this conversation? Why is it important, even just the name alone, this year's theme, and which is why you all are here today? Why is this important for us to know?
Well, honestly, the reality is that the gentleman that's on the screen with myself and yourself this evening, we're from all around the world. We're from the United Kingdom. We're from parts of Africa. We're from the Caribbean. We're from Atlanta, Georgia. We're from Connecticut. We're from South Carolina. We're from different places, and men of all different backgrounds. Of course, it's being hosted by the Nazarene Brotherhood, which is the men of the Holy Coptic Church of the Black Messiah, the men that are actually doing the day-to-day operations as far as we can contribute to this. And then we're bringing other brothers from the Moorish Science Temple of America, Brother Raciel, Ohiru Raciel, bringing him in. We're bringing in Brother Shemel. He's from North Carolina with the Moorish Science Temple. We have brothers coming in from the Nation of Islam, student ministers. We have brothers coming in from the Hebrew Israelites out of Dimona in Israel. We have pastors from some of the oldest churches in America, from California, from Texas, pastors from Charlotte, from Alabama, Montgomery, Wetumpka, Alabama. We have pastors from Shreveport, Louisiana. We have imams, Sunni Muslim imams from Jacksonville, Florida. We have brothers that are part of manhood academies out of Baltimore, Maryland area, brothers from the United Kingdom, men from different backgrounds who all recognize that manhood is under attack. When we talk about the Christ consciousness, what we're doing our best to make sure people understand is the Christ Consciousness Conference, which was our second year doing it. Last year we did very well reaching people, or very good reaching people. And this year, the goal is, because we see that the young boys, the teenagers, the young men, the middle-aged men, the older men, the elderly men, black men, we're under attack. We're under attack by the forces of racism, white supremacy. We're under attack by the misinformation, miseducation, by a system which the great B.B. Francis Cress Welsing said sees black men as a threat, right? Because black men have the genetic material to eliminate any other group of people, threat-wise, by simply our DNA, our RNA, our ability to impregnate. Many men, if you look around the world, from the Indo-Oriental, Indo-Aryans, and especially the Indo-Europeans, are struggling to impregnate their women. So they've created a system of systemic elimination of black males through incarceration, black males through environmental estrogens that are being put in the water and the food to turn our young men and men in general into homosexuals. Not attacking homosexuals, understand how they become that way and what we have to do to protect our unborn children, our young children, and ourselves from this attack. Unfortunately, black people, as the great Baba Neely Fuller says, we don't study we're playing chess, only studying one side of the board, right? We're only studying whatever pieces we're using, black or white. We're not studying our opponent and their strategies. So this conference is necessary to shed light and to let black men know that you're not alone, right? The most misdiagnosed men in America by psychologists and psychiatrists are black men. They diagnose us as what's the word they use? Us, they'll say psychotic. And the most misdiagnosed next group are white men who are diagnosed as paranoid. And they'll tell black men we're paranoid, and they'll tell white men that, that they're merely just paranoid, we're schizophrenic, when in fact they're schizophrenic, they're sociopaths, and we're not paranoid. When you walk, years ago, you walked in Walmart and said, I think someone's watching me. Well, now when you walk in the aisles in Walmart, there's a camera in the deodorant aisle, and he has your camera, you see the light come on and it's flashing. And then you walk out the aisle and look back and the light goes off. Then you walk back in the aisle and the light comes on. So we have to talk about the things that are pertinent to us. And like the great Jewish people, and I say great Jewish people because when they speak about their Holocaust, of which we are participants in, right? Many black people were killed, as many black people were killed at Auschwitz. Just, if we do some research, black people were killed at Auschwitz. We were there at the death camps. We were being killed. We were being incinerated. We were being poisoned. We were having research done on us by the hundreds of thousands. The Germans did this, right? There was the Holocaust that took place. In fact, we just finished International African Holocaust Month. So this event is all about keeping the momentum, right? Because once you stop talking your story, racism, white supremacy is going to eliminate the story. This is what this whole idea in America now, when they're talking about black identity, when they're getting rid of black textbooks, when they're getting rid of black stories, when they're saying slavery was a benefit to black people, when they're promoting it under the term, I'm sure all of my guests are very familiar with the terminology, right? When they're eliminating us, and this is something that's happening in Europe now. In England, they have a minister of common sense, right? Which sounds like, what? That sounds stupid. Haha. No, and her job as a czar in the United Kingdom is to focus on eliminating so-called wokeness.
Mm.
I don't think people understand what that means. It's just brand, another brand of in America. And if someone can just remind me the terminology, I always say it.
Woke, yes,
Uh,
I will remind you.
right? So this is the situation that we're faced with. So when we do the Christ Consciousness Conference in December 8th and 9th, and then the Women's Conference comes up in March, and then Love Lies Liberation, we got it. And if you stop talking your story, if you stop talking your colonization, if you stop talking your kidnapping, if you stop talking, it's like a rape victim that stops talking about it, right? Because they want you to stop talking about it. The sociopath and the psychopath wants us to stop talking about it, and they'll always say, "If you just stop talking about racism, it'll go away." And they're right. If you just
Mhm.
stop talking about racism, it will go away. They'll take it off the air. Not that it'll stop happening. Listen to what they're saying. They're not
Yes.
saying if you just stop talking about racism, it will stop happening. They say if you just stop talking about racism, it will go away. Yes, there's no more talking. They're not talking about black men getting killed anymore because we stopped talking about it. They're not talking about black women getting killed anymore in the media because we stopped talking about it. See, it's going away. And as long as it's not in the media, as far as everyone's concerned, it must not be happening. Because if it was happening, surely someone would be saying something. And this is
Hmm.
why this conference is happening in December 8th and 9th.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And so, everyone listening, right? We'll put some information on the screen throughout today to let you all know how to register for the conference. I believe it is a free conference, if I'm not mistaken, and you'll get the information so that you can log on and share this information with your family and friends because it is necessary. So, looking at this concept of manhood, right, and brotherhood, because we have a brotherhood here with us today. I was thinking about just the word in the sense of, I'm like, well, why hood? Why? What does hood have to do with brotherhood? Why is it put together in that way? Right? Some people are like, why is that even important? Because words are important. So I'm like, just wondering why is the context of that word put together in a way, and why is it brotherhood instead of manhood or sisterhood? I mean, when we say sisterhood, why isn't it womanhood? So it's important that it's brother for a reason, and that it's the hood in it, it gives a connotation to the end of the word. So if we can get an understanding more on why you all have a brotherhood, exactly what does that mean? And I want to know if maybe Dr. AJ Rama, if you want to start it off, and then we'll pass it around when it comes to this term, brotherhood.
Well, when we say brotherhood, right, the word brother has as its root the word birth. The very word breath, right? The word breath, not just breath that you breathe, but the breath, the the breadth of the thing, how far the thing is expanded, the walls of it, the breadth, right? And then they also have the word berith, the Hebrew word berith, right? Because we are people of the covenant, right? We Nazarites, we are covenant keepers, not covenant breakers. And as covenant keepers, we recognize the berith, the covenant, the circumcision, and we recognize the berith, or in the Yiddish they say brisk, right? Like the brisk meat when you brisk, it's a type of roast, right? But the way it's said, but they recognize the Brith, and that word Brith or Bereshith or Berith means birth. So a brotherhood is how we are birthed, something that rebirths us. Christians, right? We Black Christians, we'll talk about being born again, taking a baptism. We Muslims, Black Muslims, we talk about being receiving a shahada, right? We Black Hebrews, we talk about receiving a mikvah, right? A submersion in water, a mikvah. And so this birth or brotherhood is a rebirthing. And they use the word hood because if you go to Morocco, they used to have what was called the Brotherhood of Seville. and they used to wear these white hoods. These black men used to have these long white robes, and they would have these white hoods on their head. KKK and them tried to borrow it and create, torture, but it comes from the Brotherhood of Seville. And if you go to Kemet, right, Al Azhar, which is one of the oldest Islamic universities in the world over in Egypt, these men come out at night with these things called a ridda, and they wear this hood, right? And the hooded men were those people who were wise. The shayuk, the sheikh, the elders wore a hood. The students, the talib, or or the idrisi, right? There's a group called the idrisi. If you go to Morocco, there's a group of black men, African men, called idrisi, the original group. And that word idrisi, you have it in the Bible as Enoch. Enoch was called Idris in the Quran. He's called Hanuk in the Hebrew, and it means dedicated or student. So the brotherhood were those who were dedicated to the idea that men can be reborn, right? Christ was a part of that brotherhood. You call it Melchizedek's order in the Bible in Hebrews 7 and 9. In the sisterhood, that word cyst, right? In medicine, they talk about cystic fibrosis, right? But they would call it cyst, the word cyst, because they studied the womb. They studied the power of reproduction, which to Europeans sounded crazy, but now that they can't have children, they're studying the womb and gynecologists, and they're studying rebirth. And it's very important now, but you and I understood this. And so this brotherhood of Nazarites, right, are men who understand the importance of birth, of our seed, of who we lay with, of who we impregnate, of our children, of our daughters, of our sons, of protecting the sacred places and the sacred spaces, and being men and not being ashamed to speak unequivocally against the attack of maleness, of black maleness, even by the term black male, the attack of black manhood and black intelligence, and protecting the women and the children, and protecting our doctrine. And like the great Jewish people, whenever someone looks at a Jewish person, well, Holocaust, anti-Semitic. So we say the same thing, anti-Shemitic. They can be Sem, but we are not Sem, we are Shem. So they are anti-Shemitic. When you speak against the Nazarites, you are anti-Shemitic. When you speak against the Jews, the Khazars, the Sephardim of Europe, you are anti-Semitic. So we're going to take a page out of their book and speak our story. And that's where this idea of brotherhood comes from.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. Now, you brothers make me nervous because when the sisters come on here, they smiling, they make me feel warm. Y'all are mean mugging me today. I just I don't know where this is going. Okay, so people who are online live with us, show these brothers some love so they can smile. Show some love in the chat. Let's see some fire signs because oh my goodness. Okay, so Kahun Mansu, thank you for joining us today.
Namaste, sis.
Namaste. And so, as we look at this brotherhood or manhood, right, being put to rest, we're looking at it through many lenses, and one being music, and which I know you're very familiar with, right? So, how is manhood put to rest through music? Now we know that the words are very important, the lyrics are very important, right, which we've heard before. But what else is it? Is it that men used to use instruments and now they don't? Like, what exactly is taking place where manhood is put to rest through music? Is there any way you can speak on that, please?
Of course you can.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having us here, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll do our best. Now, just as we were talking, as my brother was talking about brotherhood, we've got to also remember when we're saying about a hood, as you're talking about music, as you're saying a hood is something that covers an area. So, and as it covers, it protects. So when you're saying through music, man, through music, we utilize music. Everybody does. To what they would say, music soothes the beast, right? But if it soothes the beast, it can also vibe the beast, and it can also vibe up those that need a little bit of vibe. As you know, we've had our conversations many times before, and in speaking about music, we've known that music allows us to express ourselves, whether in a dance way, whether in lyrically, you know what I'm saying, whether sound vibrations. We
Mm-hmm.
spoke about the vibrations, and so the music as a way of increasing the vibrations for us in when we're, for instance, when we're chanting, that's instrument. The mouth, the tone becomes an instrument. So
Mm-hmm.
when we're utilizing music, that allows a link to be made. Um, I'm gonna take you back a bit. Don't know. I'm not gonna jump on you because I don't know anything about you, right?
Okay.
But
Okay.
just presuming that you entered a club in your life, right?
I
Uh,
have.
And I'm presuming, no. You don't have to admit it. You don't have to admit
Okay.
it.
I don't
And
have
I'm
to.
presuming that the listeners have entered a club in their life. And whilst they were in there and the music was playing, did we notice how when certain tracks came on, how it made us feel? It allowed us to, some people wanted to express themselves in such a way that they would shake parts of their bodies. I'm being nice here, right? They would shake part of their bodies to make the other sex look at them and feel attracted to them. Or and they would say, no, that's just the way I want to dance. But fair enough, that's up to them. That's if they want to fool themselves in that manner, that's up to them. But so when we're talking about music, it has a way of reaching inside of us and allowing us to bring ourselves forward to us. So if we are allowed to listen to the right music and allowed to express ourselves with the right tones and the right vibration, it will allow us to calibrate together. Now, this is, as my brother was just saying, the birth, the barith, that covenant that's made between us allows all that vibrate on the similar frequency to become one, whether they've been sisterhood, whether they've been a brotherhood, they become one because these tones allow us to move together. Sometimes we listen to other nationalities' tones and we force ourselves, and I say force because we force ourselves to enjoy what they're doing, even though we know initially it didn't appeal to us. We had to make ourselves, because everybody else is in there jiving around. We drink some alcohol and we jump around and we get involved. Once we're saying, well, okay, we're chanting, we're on a certain tone, we're listening to the right music like the kora, and we're on a certain vibration, on a certain tone. When we're moving in sync with each other as we do certain dances together in order to, I would like to say, invoke the inner being and make that link within self, we're on a certain vibration. So music plays a very important role in allowing us to merge and become one unit as a brotherhood under the canopy of hood.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right.
You're
So
welcome.
playing off of what Kahumantu said, Brother Damaris, because Kahumantu mentioned this word tone, right? And so, is there a tone? What is the tone of manhood? That means it's a certain energy, it's a certain feel, it's a certain. And I'm asking you as a young person because a younger person may look at wisdom, which we see on the screen, and may say, well, there's no difference between you calling yourself a man and me being a man. And, I'm a man just as much as you as a man. And I may not dress like you, and I may not walk like you or talk like you. So, what's the tone of manhood? Because you coming from this generation would know the difference within your transition and, your journey through life on how that tone may have changed for you.
Ooh, that's a good one, sis. Excuse my voice, but the tone of manhood to me, being a younger person, is the responsibilities of a man and how he handles those responsibilities. Meaning, before when I was younger, I went to live with my aunt and uncle, and the way in which my uncle carried himself around his wife, the way in which he prayed with his family, the way in which he sat down and helped us with our homework, asked us what's on our mind, and just showing up, teaching us how to handle our finances and things like that. Those kind of responsibilities and what he showed me is what I would say is the tone of manhood. And now growing up and coming up in atonism, that very same tone, we're learning, okay, Baba Martin Luther King Jr., he showed us that tone. Baba Malcolm X, he showed us that tone. Baba Neely Fuller, he showed us that tone. Baba Marcus Garvey, he showed us that tone because they handled those responsibilities. They made sure that they stepped in and had that self-sacrificing nature to risk their lives for the people. Made sure they went to the dangerous streets where all the criminals were, where all the gangsters were, where all the places that we weren't supposed to go to, and they told us, no, we're a mighty people. Rise up out of that situation. They got them clean. They got them off of drugs. They got them off of the horrible music that we listening to. They got them off of the degradation of our women, of self and kind, those things and the like. So the responsibilities in which they showed us, from raising their families, from being committed to a certain organization, from making sure that we as Black people do not go without food, from feeding the homeless. That is what the tone is for manhood or brotherhood, that responsibility, the responsibility in which a man shows, because responsibility is ultimately your responsibility, your ability to respond in this latter day, in the times and the situations that we are facing as a people in this latter day. So what's our responsibility to the things that's going on with this, from the music to the food to the health to the raising family to the having children? So that responsibility is the tone of manhood. That's what I would say the tone is.
Okay, okay. Now our brothers are serious today, but they coming with the fire. All right, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I may not see smiles, but we definitely got some information going on here. So we'll take it. We'll take what we can get today. Okay. So thank you, Brother Demarius. Now, Brother Demarius mentioned two words also. You know, I love my pen. So he wrote, and I wrote down, he said finances. He spoke about his uncle and how he taught him about finances and certain responsibilities. And so, you know, a man might say, right, that may not be of the same esteem or caliber, that, okay, well, just because you choose to use your finances towards helping people of self and kind, I work just as hard, and I go to work every day. And so because I choose to use my money in a different way, does that make me any less than a man? So when it comes to finances and responsibilities, Brother John O'Neill, can you explain to us, does the is the way that finances are appropriated, does it make anyone less of what you would deem to be a man? Or what, how does a man use his finances responsibly, if you can, please?
I want to thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity to talk on the Vantage Point. And
Yes, yes, of course.
you're welcome. And how a man uses his financial ability determines what he wants from his family or what he wants from his future. Sometimes we get caught up into the six-figure man, the man who basically the high value man, as they call it. And what we read, what we need to realize is that it's hard just being a man. And sometimes your finances are looking at somebody who's got a lot of money compared to some man who's got $49,000. But without that man having the ability to just be a man, and you take everything away from him, what does he have? He doesn't really have anything to offer other than what he can produce with his bare hands. And I think the system gives us these tools to rip us apart, to make us look at ourselves as this man is greater than that one, or that brother is greater than this one. And we need to realize that we're basically using ourselves against each other by comparing apples and oranges. If it's coming from the man who's giving it to us, and we're not digging in the crates, or as they would say back in my day, or digging in the ground, or growing our own food, building our own homes, or doing these things for ourselves, we're just depending on someone giving us tools to gratify ourselves that they could take away at any moment in time. So I think that A man, it's just hard being tough, being a man. And we have to get back to knowing what a man is and what a man isn't based off the value system of this current system we have now based off of capitalism. And I think a man who makes six figures, that's good in his eyes. But if you take that away from him, what does he have? He doesn't have anything. And a man that's making $49,000 a year, um, what does he bring to the table? Because he could use that same 49,000 and go to the strip club. So we need to reevaluate our financial mindset and get into a place of how are we utilizing this for our future and for our benefit as Black people as a whole, so we can just help not only our children but also our nation as a whole. And with that, I yield the floor.
Okay, thank you. I'm loving these answers. So that was powerful what you said, and I love it because I know a lot of people that I hear, right, especially today. So the standards of what a man should be may have dropped from a time that you all once seen, and so for younger people now I hear more of, well, if he has money and he's able to take care of me and buy me the bag I want, buy me the shoes I want, buy me the, pay my bills, whatever it is, that makes him a man. But as soon as he is unable or he struggles to do that, now he's just a broke nigga, right? As I'm using the words that is
Yes, that's what they say.
raw as that. He a broke nigga.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to a man, Dr. Tucker, what is a man supposed to be able to do? Because these same men that does reflect the financial, they have the money, they don't know how to change a tire. So what is a man supposed to be able to do now? What is a handyman? You know what I mean? What should we expect as women, or at least as righteous women, when it comes to a man?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. It's a
Mm-hmm.
pleasure to be here. And what should you expect a man to be? What should a man be? I think we should first establish whose definition of manhood we're going to follow. Are you going to follow the Europeans' narrative of what a man should be? Or are you going to look to ancient African teachings to establish what a man should be and live up to those standards? So we look to our scripture and we let that define for us what a man should be. The things a man should do, the things a man should not do. So when we do that, we are dependent on the scripture. We have our faith in the scripture. We follow the guidelines of the scripture that's been sent to us. And we know that first, we are supposed to be able to provide for our family. In providing for our family, we know that we have to provide for them in multiple ways, not just financially. We have to provide emotional support for our family. We have to provide a physical covering for our family. We have to provide housing for them. We have to provide a spiritual and emotional system for our family. And in order for us to provide that for our family, we as men have to be a part of that and be able to teach that to our family. So we as men, and you asked a question about manhood and brotherhood. Brotherhood is an organization of a group of like-minded individuals that's working towards achieving certain goals. If I could go back to when I was in high school playing football, that football team was a brotherhood. We practiced together, we ate together, we went out, we played together. The title we were as brothers on that team, the better we played. That went on over into college when I pledged a fraternity. That fraternity was a brotherhood. We did things together, we ate together, we fought together, we fought each other. Most families, you have fights in the families, but you make up. So that was a brotherhood. After that, I went to chiropractic school. In chiropractic school, they were molding us to all think alike. That's a brotherhood. We followed a similar philosophy to get you to think of things in a certain way and work in a certain way. That's a brotherhood. So here, the Nazarite Society is a brotherhood, but it's a different type of brotherhood. It's a brotherhood of righteousness. It's a brotherhood where we hold each other accountable. You know, if a brother misses class or if a brother misses prayer too many times during the week, you reach out to him. Hey, I didn't see you in prayer. Everything all right? That's motivation. Also, being a part of a brotherhood keeps me motivated because I know I have brothers depending on me. So if I don't want to let them down, I push myself to do all things that are necessary in order for us to achieve the things we need to achieve. So being a part of a brotherhood is accountability. It keeps us committed to certain goals, and it keeps us connected by doctrine, and it gives us responsibilities of getting things achieved.
Okay. All right. And I do want to ask Kahumantu and Basesh, Reverend Dr. AJ Varma, a question. But before I get there, one more thing for you, Dr. Tucker, because you went to chiropractic too, right?
Yes.
What would you say is it a responsibility of a man to know the body, to know about his health, to know about what does that have anything to do with manhood at all? Should he know anything about, what should he know about the body and his health or, in general?
Well, in the words of one of our great Babas, we should know all things about all things, or we should know all things about one thing. And then we'll be able to make up the difference. We'll be able to determine um, what we need to determine based on that knowledge of knowing all things about one thing. So all of us, we are in a physical body, and we should know what this physical body is made of. We should know what makes this physical body tick, what makes it operate. We should be mindful of the things that we put into our bodies. We know that if we eat certain foods and we feel sleepy right after we eat certain foods, something's going on, because our food should give us energy and not make us tired and sleepy. So those are warning signs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We should always look at our skin texture to see if we have little dry patches of skin on certain areas of our bodies. Those are signs. You know, we should be mindful of how our breath smells. That's a sign.
Mm.
We should be mindful of having extra dry skin. All of these are signs of, or early signs that something's going on in our body. So it is very important for us to be aware of our physical body. So So to answer your question, we should be very mindful of our physical body. We should know the basic anatomy of the body. We should know basic physiology of our body so that we can be healthier. And if it's our responsibility to teach our family, we have to know first so that we can be those teachers and instructors for our family.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, Kahumantu and Reverend Dr. AJ Varma, and I'm bouncing the same question back around because we gotta come back around with this handyman thing. I'm sorry, we really gotta hammer this in because I don't I don't think our people understand this, right? So because I know you have much experience, Mahamadou, as a great builder, and Basesh, you have land internationally, and you've done many, jobs that I was just amazed to see, which many men today, as I said, they don't know how to change a tire. So this is why we're coming back around to this question once again. What should a man, a young man, I'm not talking only older men, I'm talking young men in today's society, right? If you think about your daughter, what would you tell her the man she is seeking should be able to do as it pertains to handiwork or any type of housework? What should we expect of a man?
Myself? Okay. It's hard for me to say because I grew up with a father that he was a carpenter. So as a carpenter, he made it clear that we all should know how to do what we have to do around the house. So, and if everybody knew everything, then they'd put me out of work. So it's not wise for everybody to know everything. Otherwise, I don't have any work. So anyway, that's part of it. But realistically, the pictures on the wall, the shelf at the back. Well, I don't expect you to build a shelf, but to put up a picture, you got to learn that. You got to learn the basic things of what the consumer unit is, or you might call it a fuse box. If the fuse cuts off in the house, what do? I go to the consumer unit, I flick it on, and then I can work the procedure of disconnecting everything from the sockets, and then put one item in at a time to find out what made it blow. That's a simple thing that every man, in fact, everybody should know that. If there's a leak under your sink, a lot of the times it's just tightening something, right? And in tightening the that nut or tightening that waste, it eliminates that. But still, if you call me, it's £70 call out, and then we can work from there, which works for me. If it's a tap leaking, then learn to fix those sort of things. If you've got a door that's jamming, I'm just saying that everything around the house, a man should really be able to do the basic. If it comes to painting, you should be able to paint the wall. If it comes to your car, the basic thing, put water in your car, lift your bonnet up, put water in the car. You must at least be able to do that. You must be able to put oil in your engine. You must be able to look at a tire and say, your tire's going down, go pump it up. Or these are the basic things around that you're talking about, just around the house, right? That he should know. A man should also know how to cook. Now, we had a certain saying where my mother would say, your hand is not made of board. That means that it's not stiff, so you should be able to bend it. You should be able to learn to do everything a female can do in regards to cooking, right? So you should be able to cook food to be able to feed yourself. You shouldn't be sitting down there saying, oh, I'm waiting for a sister to come in to cook for me. Not that it's not nice for someone to cook for you, but you should be able to look after yourself in that sense. You should be able to know how to at least look after your own body if you're ill. I'm saying all these things because a lot of brothers struggle just to deal with the basics. So in saying that, I'm just making it clear that all the little things, and I'm saying things like this, like people call me to put up pictures on their walls. They actually call me to do that. Put up pictures on your wall. They call me to put up shelves. I put up shelves. They call me to do that. They call me to take flat packs, put them together, and build them. Everybody should know these little things. There's an instruction manual in there. But we're in this society where if we've got a little bit of money, we're calling someone else to do the job for us. So when I'm saying the base around the house, all the little things, your carpet needs attended. My brother and myself, when we get together, we've been so far that we've been under the houses of where we lived or where we owned. When the professional wouldn't go under there, we went under there and dealt with the AC unit. So there's nothing in the house that you shouldn't be able to, but you won't do it as well as a professional, but you should be able to at least maintain it. That's the terms I use. I don't know. My
Yes,
brother, you want to
yes,
jump in with
yes,
me here?
yes.
Because me and you've done quite a bit together.
And before you jump in, Reverend Dr. AJ Verma, I want to ask this, right? You being from Liberia, and if you can connect this all together within your answer, you being from Liberia, but then also growing up here in America and in New York, you've seen the difference between how children are raised there and how they're raised here. And what I've noticed also in different cultures, even Chinese culture, different places, our children here, it seems like they start everything so late. Children are ironing and doing so many different things at a younger age. And here it's taking them to be almost, 12, 13 different things before they're learning these basic skills. So what have you seen as a difference in the men that were raised in a different country and also here? Does it seem like we are behind also in our skill set?
I would say no.
Okay.
I'm not giving a what? No, I would say no. And here's the reason. When you say, I think part of the manhood, this conference that we're having, this Christ consciousness conference and reviving manhood, we're not trying to revive manhood in just America or in England or in France, even on the continent, even in the Caribbean. When colonialism, when infiltration, when colonization of African minds and indigenous melanated people of the planet at the hands of the Indo-Aryan, Indo-Oriental, Indo-European, and the likes, they changed everybody. The person living in the village compared to the person living in the person living in the city who wants to be Arabicized, the person living in the city who wants to be Europeanized or Westernized or Christianized by European standards, the person living in those areas are just like any other Negro living in America. I've got relatives in Liberia, in Ghana, and in Gambia, and in Senegal who are Negro. Okay, nigga, Negro, whatever you want to call it. It's no different. They, yo, what's up, man? Yo, and you be like, really here, right? But they want to be what they are watching the same 50 Cent, the same Jay-Z, the same Cardi B, the same Beyonce, and all they're watching the same thing you're watching. They got cable gold, they got satellite TV, they got money, they got Nollywood, they got Bollywood, they got Hollywood. They're just as corrupted in their thinking. They're watching pornography. It is poisoning our people of the continent of the Caribbean. So black folks, first thing first, let's be clear. Negro or nigger or enslaved mind is everywhere. It's like niggas, flies, and roaches. It's everywhere, right? So let's get that clear. Number one, when we start talking about something that every man should know, we have to first say every man should know how to follow instructions. My brother just said when you're putting something together, there's instructions. But you know why most men and women struggle with putting stuff together? Because they don't know how to follow instructions. The thing will say, get a screwdriver. The flathead will get a screwdriver. That's a Phillips. And this thing will say, get a butter knife, get a Phillips, and we'll get a butter knife. The thing will say, make sure you put it on a flat surface. We'll put it on a round surface. We will put it all together and then read. I used to swear, poor God, right? We put stuff together, we read the instructions after the whole thing's put together backwards. We go, yeah, let me see the paper. And you go, wouldn't it? No. You
Well,
go,
some
no.
people would say that's because we had to get creative when we didn't have
No, it's
nothing.
not
We didn't have
creative.
instructions,
That's
so we had to get
our
creative.
inability to follow instructions. Something Dr. Dias Tucker said a little while ago. He was using his experience with playing sports and whether in high school, college, and so forth. When you raise a boy, right, specifically for this Christ Consciousness Conference 2023, Reviving or Resurrecting Manhood. When you raise a boy, boys have to be taught, as well as girls, to follow instructions. And the first instruction, and this goes back to Proverbs, Lemuel's mother instructing her son, she told him, don't give your strength to to strange women. Don't give your strength to alcohol. She gave him some things, but then she said, and time, my son, is precious. The most important thing every child, specifically in this case of the conversation of every boy, must learn is time management. This is where playing sports, playing chess, playing an instrument, because when you play instrument, you got to keep time. You play drums, you got to play. If you do sticks, you got to keep time. If you're playing the piano, you got to keep time. If you're playing the saxophone, you got to keep time. If you're learning African dance, you got to keep time. You're playing djembe, conga, talking drum, vaccine, you got to keep time. If you're playing chess, you got to keep time. If you're playing basketball, baseball, football, track, you're trying to bring your time down. If you're wrestling, it's time. And this is why they've removed these things away from the melanated child, specifically boys, right? Because they created this idea of we got to help girls, which they're right. I got daughters. I got 6 girls. I love my girls, right? I'm a girl dad, and the whole thing hashtag girl dad, right? But in that, we put so much effort on those girls, but we didn't think about who they were going to marry, who was going to be available. So we got to teach men, young men, old men, men, to follow instructions. This is where Baba Marcus Garvey, Baba Noble Drew Ali, Baba Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Baba Tumray, Baba Minister Louis Farrakhan, Baba, you know what I'm saying, Martin Luther King. Imagine if Martin Luther King had been late for the marches. Imagine him showing up after the fact. You know what I'm saying? So being on time, but you can't learn being on time if you don't have purpose. Purpose is reason to be on time. If you play football, basketball, baseball, I want to be a starter. Starters got to be there when the games start. See? But if I don't have a reason to be, if I'm going to school, I get there when I get there, it's because I'm not excited to learn. I'm not excited. But if I know I go to school and there's an incentives for me to learn and there's things that I'm going to receive by learning and doing better, the incentivization of it, that's going to motivate me to be on time. So if we don't learn that, being on time, every man should know to be on time. Every man should know how to follow instruction. You cannot be a man without first having someone show you. You can't become what you can't see. No man just makes himself. It's an impossibility because you wouldn't know where to start. And every man needs, thus, as a result of that, to find that purpose has to be a part of an organization. Full stop, period. Right? When we do these events, we're telling people, join us. Join what we're doing. Join the Holy Coptic Church. Join the Nazarites. You don't want to join us? Join my brothers that are Moors. You don't want to join them? Join the brothers that are Hebrew. Join something that's fighting for you. Join the brothers of the Nation of Islam. Join the National Action Network with Reverend Al Sharp. Join something that makes you have to go out and change your environment. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, one of our atonist Babas, popes, if you will, he said, no race of people, you can't expect any group of people to respect you if you beg for them to do for you what you ought do for yourself. So that has to be our mentality around the house. Whatever we can do, we do. But in order to do that, that also means we got to know the type of females we surround ourselves with, the type of daughters we have, the type of mothers we have, the type of wives we have, the type of sisters we've got to surround ourselves. And that's from the Bibi Shahrazad Ali. She said, "Black man, you have to know that you must keep the Black woman accountable because she will try every single solitary way to come up with a way of doing things opposite or contrary to what you want done." My brother John O'Neill out of Connecticut, he made a statement about the 49,000 a year man and the $100,000 man year man. We are talking about men of purpose. Whether you $100,000 man, there's men that makes $100,000 plus, and they're men of purpose. And there's men that make 49,000 that are men of purpose. There are men that make 49 that are not, and there's men that make 100,000 that are not. So we're not looking at there. What we are looking at is you can't have purpose if you don't affix yourself to something that has purpose. Purpose is not something you just wake up one morning and say, "I'm going to create a purpose." Purpose is something that's predetermined by the environment in which we find ourselves. We find ourselves in an environment where racism, white supremacy, the elephant in the room, right, is alive and well and kicking. And it is attacking Black men or manhood all across the globe. It's feminizing Black men. And if you speak out against the effeminization of Black men or the masculinization of Black women, all of a sudden you are some anti-homosexual, you got homophobia, you got all kind of crap. And that's all a part of the ploy. The reality is there's a war. Most Black people, I'm so grateful to be a part of this organization of men where we study the writings of Ben Klassen, which the people of the alt-right, I was just saying today, when you look at alt-right or the European nationalism is sweeping across Europe heavy. You look at in India, Indian nationalism. You look in China, nationalism, where they're putting out foreigners. Nationalism is nothing but the Fourth Reich. Nationalism is nothing but Hitler's people rebranded. Now the Jewish people see it. That's why they're yelling anti-Semitism, because they understand what the gas chambers looked like and felt like. I don't have to agree with their politics. I don't have to agree with the way they do things, because it's not for me to tell you how to defend you. But it is important for me as a Black man, as a melanated man, as an African man, as a Caribbean man, as an indigenous man, as a Tamarayan, an ancient African, or Melaninite, it is important for me that we begin to create a system by which we protect ourselves, by which we edify ourselves, by which we open our own businesses, by which we do trade, by which we grow food, proper growing of food, rearing of cattle, rearing of goats, rearing of sheep. And I ain't talking about doing it way off in Africa only or way off in the I'm talking about in the middle of the hood, growing gardens on top of your roof. You can put boxes and you can plant and you can grow food. So this is what men have to be able to do. We got to grow food, because all the other stuff don't mean nothing. If you got a hungry belly, you can have the most beautiful kitchen. You're going to be hungry. You can have the 50-inch, 75,000-inch screen TV. If you can't grow some tomatoes and some peppers, and you don't start learning to grow when stuff hits the fan, every man listening, every man that will listen to this, the most important thing you will ever learn in your life that you must know is your ability to grow food, hunt food, catch food, trap food, fish food, and feed your family. Because if you cannot feed your family under the conditions that are here, when you're looking in the supermarkets and you see the shelves are empty and you're not smart enough to go, wait a minute, let me go get some seeds at Walmart, Asda, Tesco, Sainsbury, or Home Depot, whatever, B&Q, depending where you live, go to the farmer and say, you got some seeds you're selling. If you don't learn to raise some chickens, I grew up in New York City, in the Bronx, went to Brooklyn, and on the roof of our apartment buildings, people used to have pigeons up there. They used to have pigeons in big cages and have hundreds of pigeons, and they would train these pigeons to do things that I don't want to discuss right now. But anyway, right? And so if they could do that with pigeons back in 1978 and 79 and 80 and 81 and 82 in New York City, you can, in that same pigeon coop, pigeons and chickens in a similar family. I wouldn't eat the New York City pigeons if I was you, but they have the same family. So the same way you can raise pigeons on top of that roof, you can raise chicken on top of that roof and learn to feed and sustain yourself, because reality is here. And Black people, we ain't got nobody looking out for us, because they made sure they didn't fund the Black farmers. When they did Farm Aid with Willie Nelson back in the 80s and 90s, they gave those white farmers all their money. Black farmers are still protesting every day out in front of the White House, in front of the Senate, for the last 20, 30 years, because they have not received what was due to them by the government in order to be able to feed our people. We're the only group of people living in America that don't have people looking like us feeding us. Chinese Americans have farms. I know, I've been there, I've seen them. East Indian American or Asian Americans have farms. I've been there, I've seen it. And here in the United Kingdom, there's Asians. You go to Green Street, they have farmers up in Welling and areas. Like when we used to go up to Welling, my brother and I, to do jobs, we would drive past these farms and I see Sanskrit writings on the farm, the welcome. I said, wait a minute, that's an Indian farm because they got Sanskrit. So they're growing their own chicken. The Chinese have certain rituals that they have to do, certain ways for the chickens that they eat. The East Indians with the Festival of Light, Diwali, they got to get their birds and their foods from certain places. So in the UK, they got Black Indian farmers. They got, or Asians as they're called in the UK. They got Chinese farmers. In America, they got the same. But when it comes to Black people, we're the only group of people that don't have no one to feed us. So the most important thing, every Black man, and that's scripturally, you were created to be tillers of the earth. You were created to be caretakers. You were created to be agrarian, an agricultural culture, agrarian culture. People who can raise their own livestock, grow their own food, know how to hunt, know how to work a weapon, know how to work a knife, know how to make a fire. Because if you can't feed, shelter, and reproduction, rest of it don't mean nothing. I don't care how beautiful your car. If you can't feed, shelter, clothes, and reproduction properly, meaning when your child is born, can you deliver that child if no one's there? And if the answer is no, you are at a disadvantage. A lion by itself is a victim. I keep trying to tell Black people this. I pray they can catch it.
Thank you. Thank you. He said if you can't deliver the child with no one. Okay. All right. So I hope everything, all this information is being absorbed. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and I'm glad that Dr. Varmer mentioned the word scriptural, because all of our guests today will be giving us a scriptural quote for manhood, their favorite quote or the most important quote, whatever the quote is. So we're going to take a quick commercial break while they get that information ready as we enter the second half of this segment. And when we come back, we're going to have a little fun because we're talking manhood from the relationship perspective. Because one thing Dr. Varma did mention is that our BB, Shahrazad Ali, said Black men must know how to keep the Black woman accountable. So that means there's some things that men should tolerate, some things that men shouldn't tolerate or don't tolerate when it comes to actually being a man. Because if you're talking about accountability, that means that for me to hold you accountable, that means that we don't tolerate certain things within a certain structure. I can't tell you what to tolerate for yourself, but I can tell you within this organization or within this relationship or within whatever this is, that there's a standard, there's a certain level of tolerance in order for us to make that accountability mean something. So that's where we're headed. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. You're tuned into The Vantage Point.
Right now, get conscious news every month. Stay up to date with the Cryptic Revealer. Every month, you can expect conscious perspectives, balanced advice, inspirational stories, together with provoking discussions on every topic. Read and enjoy a magazine that goes beyond and above the scenes. What you waiting for? Start your collection now. This full-color magazine for just $3 US. You can get it as a PDF to read on the go, or as a physical copy to read in the comfort of your homes. Stacking too high? Don't throw it. You can leave it at the train stations, barber salons, taxis, buses, cafes. Someone will need it. The Cryptic Revealer at www.journeyoнгroup.com.
Welcome back to the Vantage Point. I am your host, Azandi of Righteous Jewels, and this is your conscious podcast. My main tool, my pen just fell. Okay, so we are going to bring the brothers up, and this is where we want to see brotherhood put into action, because I need all the brothers to work together on this one, right? And we're asking here for a little favor from the brothers, if everyone can get their cameras on, and we want to ask you all to be open with us here on the Vantage Point, to be transparent with us. You know, when y'all on the phone with each other, or you're at a brotherhood meeting and you're having these different conversations, and it's real raw and it's real exact. Yeah, that's what we need, right? Because we need to understand this from a perspective of how you see it, right? And it gives us insight into the way that men think. So, what should a man tolerate as it pertains to um, a woman that they're in a relationship with, right? A wife, someone that is in the process of becoming a wife, and what should not be tolerated. What is the boundaries of this? Because sometimes when a man is too nice, he's not really a man, right? They say, "Oh, he's a sucker. He's not a man." I'm telling you how I hear it, right? Man, he ain't a man. He a punk. He a sucker. He push over, right? But then when you're too, I guess, masculine or too abrasive, or you don't really take much, then it's like, oh, he's a narcissist, and he's the this and he's the that. So we need to know what this should look like as far as what men tolerate. So you guys, I would love for you to play off each other, because I really want insight. So I'm going to leave it up to whoever feels good enough to start the conversation.
I can start with that one. That's not.
Okay.
What do you tolerate? That's a good one, by the way. Very good.
Good.
So what do you tolerate? I think it's different ways of looking at it. If it's someone that's new that I'm meeting, I don't tolerate much outside of scripture going forward. And I'll tell you why. Because I remember our Basesh, when we were going through certain books and pieces of the puzzle, and we said, don't corrupt the good girl. Well, that's I remember in my younger days, I'm guilty of corrupting the good girls, because in my ignorance and when I was living that particular lifestyle, I was in a neighborhood where all of the guys were older than me. They were at least 4 years older than me. So they would teach us younger guys certain things, and a lot of them were not the best things to know. So, when we would try to follow in their footsteps to look cool, they would tell us what to say, how to talk to girls. They referred to it as pimping, so if you couldn't go and spit the game, you weren't looked at as a cool person. So we picked up on this lifestyle. And
why is everybody's face so serious? This is guilty faces. Look at the guilty faces. Look at the guilty faces. You're not alone, Dr. Tucker. Dr. Tucker, you're not alone.
My session's with you.
The guilty, the true guilty ones to deny it and cast it to someone else.
So, in that, you corrupt good people.
Right.
I wanted to say, before they introduced that to me, I was good in a way, to an extent. But in order to be cool and accepted, we started to do that. We started to say things to girls, not disrespectful things, but you would tell them things
They
that
want here.
you would tell them what they wanted to hear in order to get what you wanted.
Thank you. We said raw. Come on. Let's go.
Yeah. So now that I'm older, I look back on those things. I know that those things caused emotional damage to certain individuals that went through that because of me. And I remember introducing females to alcohol because I used to drink. And I knew that, getting them to drink the alcohol would loosen them up. I knew that. So I remember my wife now, she didn't drink at all. So first drink she got from me. First time I offered her to drink, she didn't take it. But I kept pushing it on her till eventually she took the drink. And it's like, oh, it's not so bad. So I would make the drink, and I knew how to make the drink, make the drink sweet, put alcohol in it.
Bill
First drink.
Cosby, man, we gotta watch you. Oh my good. I'm sitting here like Jello pudding pop. What's going on? What's the Jello pudding?
But
good.
So if you know you are responsible for corrupting certain people, and when you start to live a little, when you decide to change your life, and they are not receptive to it at first, because they're looking at you to see if you are going to stay consistent. And and I can see that it's starting to change. So with the person that I am responsible for corrupting, I am more tolerant with. So, I'm kind of patient when I'm teaching, because I know that there are other people out there like me that were corrupted, and it's going to take some time in order to relearn things and to, restructure your life, and be willing to say to yourself, hey, that was not the best thing to do when I was growing up. I know those were my friends. Some of them were my relatives, but I really want to say that they had my best interest, because a lot of them, they didn't want to see me hurt by a girlfriend. So they would say have more than one girlfriend. So, with that, I'm tolerant to the point of understanding how corrupted a person can be, and how difficult it may be to make that initial change. So, that I'm mindful of what it might take, or how long it will take to see the change in an individual.
Okay. Let's get the next drink mixer. Who else was mixing drinks? So that way we no, but that's a very good point. That's a very good point. So when you are a part of someone's, I don't want to say necessarily destruction, but once you played a part, then you're a little bit more tolerant to allow that person to grow. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Anyone want to jump in? I can't call names, but I really think that you all flow really well together. You know who is next in line.
I think Brother Demaric says something he'd like to add.
I wasn't mentioning no drinks, family. I wasn't mentioning no drinks. But I did smoke when I was a little younger, and I too have influenced a good many people. But one of the things that you said that stood out is when you said to get what you want. And that's the thing, you know, now that I'm a little older, my wants have changed based off of my doctrine, the doctrine that I'm in the teachings. And we have one great teacher, Kahu Mantu. He stated, if I'm not mistaken, make your wants your needs and your needs your wants. So now that I want different, I'm able to look out. I have a mate now, my lady now. Those very wants that my doctrine is teaching me, that the men around me are teaching me, are those very same wants that I discuss with her, or the different sisters, and how they carry themselves, and how they speak, and how they teach, and how they want to raise their families right, and those kind of things. Those are the things I impart on my lady, and the things that I give to her. So because my wants or my needs have changed, it's for the better. Because when I was younger, my wants and my needs catered to, okay, getting the ladies, wanting to sleep with them, be the cool kid, like Dr. Tucker was saying. And so based off of that wants and those needs, my toleration is different. What I'm willing to tolerate now is different because my wants and needs are different. If y'all understand what I'm saying.
Give us
That's
some
why.
examples. What are some things that what the tolerance
Meaning,
that changed?
meaning back when I was a little younger and I used to smoke and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I would tolerate smoking. I would tolerate a female
Okay.
sitting beside me, and she
Mm-hmm.
can roll a blunt and she can smoke it with me, and I thought it was the most beautiful thing in the world at that time.
I can echo that.
It was at a point where, like, if she not smoking, I ain't really trying to talk to her.
Okay.
That's how I was at that time. But
Mm-hmm.
now, no, you got to open up your scripture now. You got to
Yeah.
have some conversations about the community now and our people now, and raising a family now and having morals and values now for you to sit beside me. If you
Okay.
rolling up, I'm not sitting beside you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Those are the kind of examples, and that's just not just with smoking. That's music, that's health, that's exercise, working out. Anything for that matter, because my wants and my needs have changed. The things that I'm willing to tolerate from a lady is totally different. Even the things that I'm willing to tolerate from another brother is different, because those wants and those very needs have changed, and because of the men that's around me, and the things that they do and how they carry themselves, and how I see them rearing their family, and how they're speaking, how they're moving. So the very same thing is expected of me. And I see the ladies that are with them, or the family that they're with, like my uncle, for example. Before my uncle, I didn't have I'm not gonna say I didn't have a male example. There were males, but it was nobody that was really teaching me growing up. I'm talking about from, you know, uh from age 7 to, like, not age 7, I'm gonna say from age 5 years old to like 10, because that's when I went to live with my uncle. My uncle was the first man who actually showed me what it was meant to be a man. That's where I learned how to change a tire. That's where I learned how to cut grass. That's where I learned how we gotta carry all the grocery bags in the house. That's where I learned all those different things from. And so having those men around you, like our Bashesh, he teaches us that if you can't see it, how can you actually become it? Don't no man become a man on his own. He needs those very examples. And as I was growing up, and wanting to be cool and having fun with all the cool kids and things, the men that was around me, they was doing that. They was smoking, they was drinking, they was going to the clubs. The people around me, that was the setting. It wasn't nobody talking about scriptures. It wasn't nobody talking about morals in my circumference, except for my uncle. My uncle's the one who I really took to the establishing of having, praying with your family, opening up the scripture, because I see him open up the scriptures and things with my aunt, and how their relationship has carried over. They've been married over 35 years now. So you need to see those kind of examples so you can kind of mark it and you can stamp it so that way it can help you further yourself along. And now that I do have a family, now that I'm in a relationship, now that I am gonna have a binding of two flesh ceremony and things like that, those are the things that I was taught from their relationship is what I put in place in my own family relationship. I seen how my aunt carried herself around my uncle. I seen how she spoke to him, how she helped him, how she eased his mind. You got to see. You pretty much got to see those examples. And my uncle, he didn't hang around just every kind of man. He wasn't around nobody who was smoking and drinking or in a club. He handled his responsibility. And that's why I said now, looking at where I was when I was a little younger, my needs and my wants has changed. So what I'm willing to tolerate has changed.
Right. Okay. I'm loving this. Okay. Thank you, Brother Demarius. Can we get the next evil in line at that time? Who was the next of evils? Come on, to is it your turn?
I've got to go way back to jump into where they were jumping from. But I would more like to say what I wouldn't tolerate so much now, because I tolerated. Remember, as a DJ, I tolerated literally everything: the drinking, the smoking, except for hard drugs. So for myself as a DJ, I tolerated most things that was out there, and in fact, the wilder probably the better. If you get what I'm saying. So
no, what do you mean by that? You said the wilder the better. I don't understand.
Okay, of course you don't. Of course you don't. What I was saying is, for instance, if I walked into a club and the girl was literally half naked, that would be an ideal choice, because I'm not looking a partner. I'm a DJ in a club. I'm having fun. Do you get what I'm saying? So that would probably grab my eye. Say, there she goes, looking good, looking fit, looking. Yeah, I'm going to talk to her, but before the end of the night. Do you get what I'm saying? So now that's not what you look at. But even then, even though I was looking at that, I wasn't still looking at that as wife material. It was fun material. That was fun, because wifey was at home, and wifey didn't come out dressing like that. Wifey always dressed decent, but that was fun material. So there was the fun side of grabbing a partner or a friend or an associate or a colleague, anyhow you want to put it, friends with benefit, that they would call it today. And then there was the seriousness. So for myself, I've always been more at a serious partner and then played. That was how I grew up. I grew up knowing that you're supposed to have one serious and you play with everybody else. And you let the serious one know you're the person, I'm playing with everybody else. And that was life until I got saved. When I got saved, and I raised into this now, and my true salvation was there, and I realized, no, I can't do this. This is not the way we should behave. But until then, it was what I knew. So now at this stage, for myself, I don't tolerate, and I won't tolerate having a partner who's not a part of what I'm a part of. If you're not in this fight with myself and with what we're all trying to do, then it doesn't interest me. So, and I've seen brothers who are here and they haven't got a partner, and there's sisters around them, but they still want that look. So they're going outside to try and find that look when there's great sisters standing amongst them. But because they want to, they want their Coca-Cola bottle shape, or they want certain things, they're always running out there, and that doesn't do the sisters confidence any good when they're standing there thinking, well, I would like a partner, but you're not going out there and you're constantly changing.
Mm-hmm.
But until they reach that stage when their wants becomes their need and their needs become their want, and they understand that the doctrine is it. That's the key to for our salvation. Until we really look at ourselves and say, I need to be saved. And to be saved from all that's happening, then I'll make that difference. I'll make that change. And then my partner is somebody that you can sit and talk to. You can sit and talk doctrine to. When you wake up in the morning, you can sit and do a prayer with. You can sit and talk about what the goals are that we're setting for our family. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about where you're going today, where you're going to wear, where you're going to jump. No, there's things that we've got to look at. So when I say, well, it's more what I won't tolerate. And what I won't tolerate is to have somebody that's not on the same path as myself. And if that's not, if you're not on that path, we're not interested.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Kahamatsu. Brother John O'Neill or Basesh Harutata, who
Brother
would
John
like
O'Neill.
to?
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was out there. I was a wild ass of a man, as they would say, and doing my thing, and a lot of fun times, as they would call it, a lot of bad times. I hung around a lot of people that were very, that wasn't good for me. But I always had a family structure that was my safe haven, and that kept me sound, and it kept me focused because my father and my mother was always put family first. And what they did was they taught me the value of family. At me being young, you know, you have your friends and you're out in the world and you're doing your thing. You really never realize how important that is until you have a family of your own, and you want those family values to come back into your family, but you still got that street in you and that crazy man side of yourself that you got to purge. So, but that goes back to Genesis chapter 4, verse 7, where when Basesh, Reverend Dr. A.J. Varma, was speaking on that on our classes, he said that when you are out there, sin lieth at the door. So you basically would be, if you accept that sin, then you will come back and start sinning amongst the people that are sinning, and then you'll go out and do other sins and bring people back into that sinful world. And that made me think. It was a very powerful statement. And I had to sit back and analyze myself and say, well, what am I doing? I got good values, but I'm wasting it out on the community of people who don't have values. So I had to recalibrate myself. And that's why I said, if we go back to that very first word, revive, means consciousness, to regain health or to live again. So right here and right now, I can say I'm living again in a place where I have a bunch of brothers that will hold me accountable and keep me on task to the things that I need to do, not only for myself, but for everybody around me and for them and their family. So that way we can come together and be the examples of men that will show the world what we're capable of. And, Francis Cress Welsing, Neely Fuller, Elijah Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali, Marcus Garvey, these men and women were the litmus test that I had to live up to. And I'm still trying to live up to, because without them, we wouldn't have anything to fall back on. So again, this brotherhood is real important to me. I've been in Kappas, I've been in Freemasonry, I've been in a lot of things where, yes, they were a brotherhood to me, but they also brought debauchery. And I'm not saying that what they did at that time was wrong, but I had to reevaluate myself and to see what kind of man I was going to be to the people that I was around or soon to be around and grow with. And that's why I say this brotherhood right here keeps me sound and it keeps me grounded to where everybody is accounted for. So I can't go and do things just for myself. I got to make sure that who sees me out there, they're going to see me in here. And I can't think that I'm going to be wearing this garb, this uniform of discipline, and be out there doing a bunch of debauchery, because this stands for something. It stands for nobility. It stands for honor, and it stands for duty, and it stands for respect, not only for yourself, but to the women and the men that we fall under the umbrella of brotherhood. And with that, I digress.
Okay. See, these men look serious for a reason. They handling business today. Okay, Basesh. Last but not least, now everyone doesn't have to answer the question the same way, but we are much interested in hearing your story. Go.
Well, I grew up in consciousness, right? And here's a strange thing now. Here's the strange part. So I grew up under this notion, whether in my mother's house or the organization I joined at the time back in the Nubian Islamic Hebrews back in 1985 at age 12. And I was being reared or taught about this. My mom was very much the African mother. I'm gonna do your African. You gotta, your African culture and your Madingo and Basa, and our people were Hebrew and Muslim. And this was all drilled. I had my godfather, who was the only grandfather I've ever known. He was Igbo from Nigeria, him and his wife, they're patient, and they taught me all this culture, Africa, and all. I knew all of the Sankaras and the Mandelas and the Ahijus and the Kenyatas and all of the great Pan-Africanists, right? My mother was very much a race woman and very much a Pan-Africanist, and Black Pride. She's taken me to the Schomburg Library in New York City. So I grew up in this kind of way of thinking. And as I joined the organization at that time, the Nubian Islamic Hebrews, we were, I saw sisters in veils or in hijabs and brothers in white robes, and very, rigid. But then as I grew, coming from the perspective of a child, people forgot that I was standing there. And so at times there were some brothers that were very noble, very, upright. Some sisters that was very noble, very regal, very upright. But then there was also some niggas, right? Or Negro or street people who put on the white robes. They were great at propagating and peddling and making money, but they still had that street to them. You know what I'm saying? They still had that street behavior. They still had that street taste. And so I got to see another side of people. But I always, growing up around a mother that I had, my aunts and those people, the women in my life, my mom didn't wear pants, right? She only wore long dresses. All my aunts only, the traditional African women, and so they wore long jean skirts or corduroy skirts or African galas, and this is what they were. Whenever there was a party, my mom never went to a party without us, because it was always an African party, and or the Caribbean party, and all the children are there, all the parents are there, and they're watching, right? But they would have their Guinness and their Heinekens. Again, you're a child, people forget you're there, but you're watching. And so as I got to the age where I would say, I wanted a girlfriend, or growing up in an Islamic organization, polygamy was just normal to me, right? This idea, and it was explained and why and how and all this stuff. And so I didn't know, it took years for me to come to realize that just as there were men that are on the prowl that were Negroes, there were women that were on the prowl that were Negro, and that they would look to the conscious organization, Nation of Islam, the Moors, the Hebrew Israelites, the Nubian Islamic Hebrews, and today the Holy Coptic Church. They would look at the male ranks. There were women who like a man in a uniform, who saw men in white robes and riddas, and and they just wanted that. Just like there were guys, and when I got to college, I pledged, right? So it shifted, right? Right. But just like there were guys who wanted the innocent girl, there were women who were plotting on the innocent guy. And I had to learn that. And there were women who look at the conscious organization and see it as a fishing ground and say, I just want one of those good men. But they want, and I've seen this as a teacher, I've seen it as a student, I've seen it as a son, as a child, as a young man growing into a man, growing into a teacher, a leader, on into being a head of an organization, or as a Nazarite today. And I've seen sisters, and this is one of the things I don't tolerate, right? I've seen sisters come amongst the organization and take a good man and break him. Not see that good man and say, let me fall in line with that good man and what that good man is trying to do for our people. But they want that good man, but they want that good man to become a regular man, but have all the good man qualities. Right? As I listened to my brothers speak, I said, I'm going to go a little bit different. Right? We all did our crime, right? We did our time. But there were a lot of sisters who literally were trying to break that good man and reform him into the facsimile of the man of the world with the good man qualities. They wanted to take the proverb man of, or the proverbial man of the Psalms 32 or the 1 Corinthians 16, 13 to 14. They wanted to take that proverbial man, that biblical man, that Quranic man, that original books of the Bible man, and they wanted to make that man reform, keep the discipline, keep the loyalty, keep the family, but don't hold me accountable. I don't know if that makes sense, but I've watched. I remember sitting with many assistants say, they'll come to me and I'll see them. They'll get with the guy. He's conscious. He's conscientious. He's doing everything, and then they begin to. All of a sudden, you don't see the brother as much. And when you see him, you say, "Hey, bro, I haven't seen you, 3 weeks. What's going on?" Now, my lady, my wife, she wants me to do certain things. I got to spend time with her. I'm trying to teach her, and I go, yep. And then eventually you don't see him anymore. Then a year goes by and they start having problems because she don't realize he was street. He was like the rest of us. He was flawed. And the thing that was now keeping him in due bounds, keeping him in check, was his doctrine, was his Nation of Islam, was his Hebrew Israelite, was his Moorish Science Temple, was his Nubian Islamic Hebrews, was his Holy Coptic Church, his Nazarite, his Atonist. That's what was keeping him in due bounds. But she took him away because now she had this good man, this loyal man, this man of consciousness, of purpose, of how to treat a lady. But she didn't understand that he had to be converted to that. And that energy that was converted could be reconverted. But so now she took him away from the accountability that my brothers are speaking about, and now he had no accountability, so he's going to naturally regress to become the man he was. Then that same woman, and I've had this happen to me probably 100 times in my life, swear for the Most High, and that same woman would then come. The same woman that never came to talk to me as a teacher, as a leader, as a man, as a brother, about the man that she was thinking she now had. She didn't know how he was shaped. She didn't know how he was formed. She didn't know how he was taught. Now she done pulled him away into the little cubby hole, and now they're playing footsies and holdies and rubbies and all that. But now, because there's no brotherhood, there's no accountability, there's no revival of manhood, there's no more of that, he begins to regress. Now she pops up, oh, brother such and such, brother Mitch, and these I'm saying some names, some people, I'm just saying the name, right? Brother Mitch, don't y'all supposed to be like this? And I go, really? Yeah, we are. How'd you know? Yeah, because I know, ain't y'all supposed to do this? Well, how you know all that? Well, because don't y'all teach that men are supposed? And I say, yeah, that's true. So, but what else do we teach about what you're supposed to be doing? And then I get the like it's a tight meal. Because you're telling me now that you've allowed him to be pulled away, and now that he's becoming corrupted, and now that you say, wait, this ain't the man I wanted. But with the man you wanted, I'm only this type of man in this type of environment. Take me back to my alpha days. To my military days, well, I'm a man like any other man. I wasn't mixing drinks. I was the crazy kid who saw a magazine article at age 8, 9 years old about Spanish fly and how Spanish fly can make a girl just become, so, and back then, 42nd Street with all the strip clubs and penny with the quarter shows and peep shows, you could walk in as a kid. We just walked in to the sex toy shop on 42nd Street today is not the 42nd Street of the 1980s. Go online and you can see it. And we walked in and we bought it, and they sold you Spanish fly as a kid. I was 8, 9 years old, and I put in this young lady's drink. And I thank the Most High that I have an older sister, Musu Elizabeth, who saved that girl and saved me, because the poor kid, I didn't know. I just poured the whole stupid kid. I poured the whole damn thing. So Dr. Tucker, you were nothing in your mixing. I took a whole bottle of Spanish fly, right? This thing that I didn't know what it would do. I just knew they said it would make her want me. So I poured the whole thing and gave her the soda, and she drank it. And then she started overheating. I was like, oh boy, my mom's going to beat me. I'm in trouble. And my sister stepped in and put her in the shower and cooled her down and did a whole bunch of stuff to get her right? Because all I knew, my mom's going to kill me. I'm going to die. And I didn't even get to be with this girl. So it's really horrible, right? And that was what I was. I didn't have a father, my big brother was gone, didn't have a brother, there was a lot of things I had to learn. And like Dr. Tucker and Brother John O'Neill and Brother Damaris and Kahun Muntuta, I had to learn that my way of life. So I don't tolerate any person who's going to try to take me away from my way of life. Any man, any woman, any child, any parent, if you're going to try to pull a man away from the way of life, not knowing that the man that you like is a result of the way of living that he's in, that system that he's in. If not, we just another animal. And if we're another animal, our innate nature is going to come out. Our ignorance, we're under a system of racism, white supremacy that has programmed us to be hypersexual, to see every beautiful butt and beautiful breast and beautiful face and think, yo, what's up? You know what I'm saying? So that nature is there. But when you have a way of life, when you have a system that governs you, and you have men that are watching you and are holding you to what you say, your word here is your bond. Your word here amongst the brotherhood, it means something. When we put on this kufa, when we put on these garbs, these waistcoats and these collarless shirts and and the polo shirts, and we know we're putting on a garb that says I can be trusted to do what I'm supposed to do by the brotherhood that I ascribe to, or to do what I'm supposed to do by the sisterhood that I ascribe to. So for me, the thing I've learned not to tolerate is don't trust or conscious or crookedly conscious people. Right? You got the crooked clergy and the crookedly conscious people who will talk consciousness just to get, as a man or woman, what they want. There's brothers who will come amongst us. They don't want to conform and fall in line and reform and be told what to do. They just want that conscious system. But they want to take her away. But he don't know that she was street too. So you're going to take her away from the rules and thinking you getting a good wife, and you end up done got Cardi B, because you don't know she was Cardi B before she became righteous, and you took her away from the accountability, and now you got Cardi B, which might be a thing. I don't know, but I would hope not. So it's the same thing. There's a lot of brothers that do that. So I don't tolerate men and women who want to be crookedly conscious. They talk a conscious game. They spit a lot of information. But when it comes to, I teach this to everyone, and my brothers, we share this in common. Liberation is a lifetime. It's not something you're going to put on and going to get it overnight. Manhood is a lifetime. It's working on yourself every day. I work on myself every day. I try to learn something new every day. Just this evening, we had to go for the little one to the hospital, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching other men, white men, black men, Asian men. I'm watching how they interact with their sons and their daughters, and I'm picking up. I watched the East Indian man. He came in with his wife. They were very tall, thin. and they had the little girl. She was tall, and I watched how they moved and just the way, the mannerisms. I looked at the wife. I saw the earrings. I saw the bindi. I saw certain things, and they were in regular clothes, no saris or anything. But I watched how they moved. And I watched how he let the wife lead in that environment for the health of his daughter. I was sitting there, I said, this is amazing. Then I watched the white folks, right? The Cockneys and whatever, right? The regular folks and the white Negroes, right? Or the trailer trash. And I watched how they moved. The guy like, I'm leaving. God damn it, I ain't doing that. He was Cockney. So it was more like, yeah, I'm out of here. I'm done. And the wife had to like pull the cart. We can't leave. We've been there. He said, we've been there like 12 hours. I'm like, okay, he exaggerated because I saw you coming after us. But I watched how they operated. Then I watched how the Arab girl, she was sitting next to us, and her man was on the phone. I'm looking at, she's holding her phone, and he's in the bed. And she don't know I speak Arabic, so I'm just enjoying their conversation, right? It's like TV, like must see TV. And I watched how he cared about his son, but he didn't care enough to be there, right? So I'm watching it and I'm saying, okay, that's another dynamic. But she wasn't the practicing Arab. He looked like a regular guy. She looked like a regular girl. She looked Puerto Rican to me. First, I was like, man, she Puerto Rican. But then she started talking. I said, okay, right? So I'm watching it, and then her kids just coughing on everybody. I'm like, yo, this is a petri dish. So I'm watching that dynamic. And what I started realizing is culture is important. I watched the black guy who was an African and how he was with his son. And I watched the black guy who was just black British. And I watched how I'm literally sitting there studying people. I'm watching who's watching TV. I'm watching the I don't want to say gypsy, but the Eastern Bloc, Eastern European. I watched how she was with her children. Right, the son, the two sons and the daughter, and they had on the black kind of bomber jackets, and how they behaved, but they moved with their mothers. So I watched the doctors. I watched how the Chinese doctor spoke to us, and I watched how the East Indian, Asian, dark skinned doctor spoke to us, and how the East Indian nurse spoke to us, and how the African nurses, how they spoke to us and were willing to help out. I'm a people watcher, right? Because that's what a Nazarite is, a helpful watcher. But you can't help people if you're not paying attention, if you're not mindful. Right, that's the first part of being a Nazarite. You have to be a helpful watcher, but to be helpful, you got to observe, you got to see, you got to recognize, you got to pay attention. And so for me, I don't tolerate that. Any person who's going to try to pull a man or woman away from Sirat al-Mustaqim, pull a person away from I am the way, the truth, and the life, pull a person away from you shall keep my commandments all the days. If you start doing that, I rebel against any such thing. That's just my innate nature, because the only thing, and I'm sure my brothers can speak to this, and you, Sister Azandi, can speak to this, the only thing for me that has been consistent in my life, that has never let me down since I was 12 years old, 38 years now, is this doctrine. People have come and gone, women have come and gone, friends have come and gone, but this doctrine, this Nazarite way, this atonism, this Hebraic doctrine, Nubian, Islamic, Hebrew, Ansarullah, Ansar, Jindi, this never let me down. So anybody who's going to try to
Yes.
get me to do other than this, I'm like, good luck with that, bro. Good luck with that, sis. Ain't gonna happen.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you all so much, because these answers are necessary, because I have conversations with people who still have these interactions where they're like, I want a man, they want a half righteous, half hood, half boy, half man. They want a half man. And when he be and when he begins to do things or treat you in ways that are not of a righteous man, because I realized that's a key word that we left out. Is I asked you about manhood, but as you all explained and went through your story, I'm like, no, it's the difference between a man and a righteous man. And so you want him to treat you like a righteous man, but you got a hood guy. And so they be like, yeah, I got me and I'm saying it how it's said today, a nigga from the hood, and I want him to treat me the way a righteous man would, but it's like you can't mix two. They say you can't serve two gods. So it's either you are both going to live in righteousness and you're going to have the tolerance level that was explained today by these men here today, or you're not. You have to choose the path. And that's why I think this conversation is very important. And you all said some key things, definitely some jewels today. So thank you all. And I want everyone to join and be a part of the Christ Consciousness Conference talking about the revival of manhood, because the conversation goes deeper, but is necessary in order to revive it and to make it once again what it should be, because it's been lost, right? When something needs to be revived, that means that it's dying. And so if we can get some details for the conference on the dates, and then I know that more information will be posted on your social media accounts. So if you can just give that information, Reverend Dr. AJ Varma. And before we get to that, I hope everyone can just give me, or at least a couple people, give us some quotes, because you are coming from the scriptures, right? Some of the key things that was said today after the master mixer and the roll me a blunt baby. And these are my notes, right? After the master mixer and the roll me a blunt baby, and the wilder the better. And I was out there in the streets, and the Spanish fly. And, after all of this.
Now I'm Spanish. How I think.
We got to salvation and scripture and the value of the family and sound and grounded, and nothing has never failed me. This has never failed me, this way of life in this religion. So what if we could get some scriptural quotes for the people before we give the information for the Christ Consciousness Conference and wrap up, please? Whoever wants to start, and we'll go around if you do have some quotes, some from the scriptures.
Well, I would like to start.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. I would like to start from Job chapter 21, verse 28. And it says, For you say, where is the house of the noble man? And where is the tent, the dwelling place of the wicked? And with that, I've taken out of that as the noble man wants to build a house, a foundation, and something with substance for the next generation. And a wicked man only has a dwelling place that he dwells from place to place, city to city, backyard to yard, as we say in our songs. He just wants to be wherever his hat is. And the men here, we're noble men, and we want to build foundational houses to pass on from generation to generation. And I think being here right now in this organization, the Holy Catholic Church, and our religion sets our boundaries, our scripture sets our goals, and our leader, Basesh, he's the spearhead that puts us in the right direction for us to get to where we need to be. And with that, I yield.
Okay, thank you. Who would like to go next?
I can go next.
Okay.
My scripture is going to come from the original books of the Bible. It's going to be book 10, the book of the divine principles of Ma'at. We're on verse 8. It says, O humanity, cosmic harmony is achieved by living correctly, practicing privately what you advocate publicly, and observing all rites, rituals, precepts, laws, commandments, and principles as you work towards reaching the state of atonement, which is the balancing of all aspects of your life. So with that, you want to be true to atonism. And being true to atonism, you'll be true to yourself. And if you're true to yourself, you will become that righteous man that's needed going forth for your family, not just your immediate, your personal family, but also for your atonist family. Because atonism, we are obligated and committed to spreading atonism. So in order to spread something, you have to be a student of it. So as an atonist, as a Nazarite, we study daily to stay on that straight and narrow path, that straight path,
Mhm.
and be upright examples for our families, for ourselves, and for our communities.
Thank you. And what verse was that, please? I know you said
Verse
Papyrus 1, book 10, verse 2.
8.
8. Okay, verse 8. Okay, thank you. Who would like
I'll
to?
I'll take this one. Mine is coming from Psalms 112, chapter 12 in the Bible. The title is Prosperity of the One Who Fears the Lord. And bear with me because I'm going to read the whole chapter because it's important. It says, Praise ye the Lord. Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in his commandments. His seed shall be mighty upon earth. The generation of the upright shall be blessed. Wealth and richness shall be in his house, and his righteousness endureth forever. Unto the upright there ariseth light in the darkness. He is gracious and full of compassion and righteous. A good man sheweth favor and lendeth. He will guide his affairs with discretion. Surely he shall not be moved forever. The righteous shall be in everlasting remembrance. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. His heart is established. He shall not be afraid until he see his desire upon his enemies. He hath dispersed, he hath given to the poor. His righteousness endureth forever. His horn shall be exalted with honor. The wicked shall see it and be grieved. He shall gnash with his teeth and melt away. The desire of the wicked shall perish. And I chose that verse specifically because that very verse puts me in the mind of Barbara Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Barbara Martin Luther King Jr., Barbara and Marcus Moshe Garvey, all of the great men who have stood for righteousness and who have stood for our liberation in this latter day, who did the serving, who put their lives on the line each and every day. And not just them, any of the men in our life who has shown us an example of raising your family, protecting your family, raising young Black children, raising, not just raising, but marrying our sisters in this latter day, building the family, building the community, being a part of this community. Those kind of things endureth forever. Those are those righteous men who endureth forever, the things that they have spoke, the trials that they have faced, the books that's been written about him. Martin Luther King is long gone, but we still talking about him today. My daughter's daughter gonna know about Martin Luther King Jr. and Bob Marcus Moshe Garvey and Malcolm X and all the great BBs as well, because these are those righteous men. Those righteous men endureth forever because they're fixed on the Lord. They're fixed on the rights, the rituals, the precept principles, the commandments. So as a man, you have to stand for that. Our Baba Malcolm X said, a man who doesn't stand for anything doesn't stand for something will fall for anything. You have to stand on your principles in this latter day.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Kahun Mantu, is he still with us at this time? Okay, we'll bring Kahun
Of
Mantu and then
course,
we'll
he's still here.
I thought you ran out on us. Okay.
No.
So Kahun Mantu and then we'll go to Basesh.
If we go to Micah 6:8, they'll highlight this as a man follows God's design for true masculinity, right? And it's written in such a way, I'll read it and then we talk a little on it. He has told you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with the Most High Heavenly One. The core of man's life should be his relationship with the Most High Heavenly One. I chose that one because there's many things, but as we're talking about brotherhood and we're talking about masculinity, we're saying, well, these are the things that we need to be able to do to walk with the Most High Heavenly One. And how do you walk with the Most High Heavenly One? You walk with the Most High Heavenly One by having a nere in your heart. And if Hanere is in your heart and you're constantly talking about Hanere, like I said a while ago, if you're going to pick a partner, you know that you pick your partner because the two of you are going to want that same thing. You're going to want to raise your children. I remember years ago, I was Rasta, and as a Ras, I had to raise my children as Ras. No one said anything. As a Christian, you raise your children as a Christian. No one says anything. So, as an atonist, and one that walks with the Most High Heavenly One, then the same thing that we've got to have. I say it again. I was told, oh man, what is good and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with the Most High Heavenly One. So once you walk with the Most High Heavenly One amongst you at all times, and you breathe that onto your children, you're now bringing in that for our children and for all of us to see. So
Okay.
that I'm putting out there so that we can all see that and be a part of it. That's Micah 6:8.
Yes,
Micah
yes.
6:8,
Thank
American
you.
English.
Yes, yeah, we got both of them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And last but not least, we have our Coptic Pope, our Masesh, Reverend Dr. AJ Rama. And here he comes in just one second. Okay.
Um, I'd like to, I think Proverbs 27, and I'm going to read, I'm going to take a page out of Brother Demarius's book. It's called
Mhm.
Warnings and Instructions. He says, boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. I think this is as manhood, and we'll go more in detail in December 8th and 9th. But it's not about boasting about myself, about an individual being, because I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring for me. Let another person praise you, and not thine own mouth. Say, show us your works more than your words. A stranger, not your own lips. We don't do this for self-aggrandizement. A stone is heavy and the sand weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. Don't be a fool. Wrath is cruel and anger is outrageous. But who is able to stand before envy? People are envious of you. They're going to come at you. Don't worry. Brotherhood, lean towards each other. Open rebuke is better than secret love.
Mhm.
Rather a person tell you how they really feel so you can make the right decisions and do what got to be done towards your own liberation as a people.
Mhm.
Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful.
Mhm.
The full soul loatheth any honeycomb sweet thing, but to the hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. Don't go around looking for, sweet words and sweet things and sweet actions. Look for reality, because sometimes you can get fooled. My teacher would always say, don't buy food when you're hungry, because you'll buy the wrong thing. As a
Mhm.
bird that wandereth from her nest, so is a man that wandereth from his place. Sisterhood, brotherhood, Nazarite. Ointment and perfume rejoice the heart, sweet smelling things. So does the sweetness of a man's friend by hearty counsel. It's going to be the best if you have true counsel, true brotherhood. Thine own friend and thy father's friend forsake not, neither go into thy brother's house in the day of thy calamity. For better is a neighbor that is near than a brother far off. We got to be there for each other. My son, be wise and make my heart glad, that I may answer him that reproaches me. A prudent man foreseeth the evil. Gotta foresee what's happening around us and hideth himself. But the simple pass on and are punished. You don't see the traps. Original books of the Bible talks about giving us this way of life, this scripture, this original scriptures to help us avoid the pitfall. Take thy garment that is surety for a stranger and take a pledge of him for a strange woman. Be mindful of strange women who want to
Mhm.
teach you strange things and strange goals and strange aspirations that pull you off the path.
Mhm.
He that blesseth his friend with a loud voice rises early in the morning. It shall be counted a curse to him. Don't get caught up on the hype. A continual dropping in a very rainy day and a contentious woman are alike. Woman just coming at you all day, every day. It's like rain, just non-stop. It just after a
Mm,
while, it ain't worth it.
mm,
Whosoever hideth her, hideth the wind. Whosoever hideth that contentious person, hideth the wind. Can't hide the wind. And the ointment of his right hand, which bewrayeth itself, is just going to bring you wrath. And then my favorite one of all of them, iron sharpeneth iron. So a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend.
mm.
Brotherhood is about sharpening each other.
Yes.
Brotherhood is about getting each other sharpened. These men I'm on the screen with tonight that I'm sharing this moment of joy with, that's making me a better me, these men are sharpening me because they hold me accountable. They
Mm-hmm.
keep me knowing what I'm supposed to do. I can't come on this screen and not present my best because I know they're going to bring their best. I
Mm,
can't not speak the truth or my truth because I know they're going to speak the truth. They're going to speak their truth. So it forces us, and I'll say to any brother and sister out there, this is the way of life for you. This is the organization for you. This is the type of men you want your sons around. If you're a mom, a single mom, you want your sons raised around this type of thing because we're going to hold him accountable to manhood. But that means you're going to have to get held accountable to ladyhood or
mm.
regalness. And so I pray we've done the vantage
Yes.
point
Yes, yes,
this
yes.
evening.
Yes, you all have. Oh, we want to thank you so much, everyone who joined us today, for your time. Thank you to our Coptic Pope, who always leads us in a staying time and in these conversations to make sure that the message is conveyed and that lives in the process are being changed and reformed into, and better, and we become better, strive for better in this moment of awakening and liberation. So we want to get the information for the Christ Consciousness Conference as we wrap up for today. I will also put your information on the screen for you, Basesh, as well as the Holy Coptic Church. That way, everyone can stay up to date as things are being posted and the communications are sent out. So if you can give us what you do have for right now, and we will prepare accordingly.
All right. Well, again, the Christ Consciousness Conference 2023, the theme of this year is reviving manhood. We're telling people if you're interested in getting your free registration and ticket information, it's a free event, but we want to still have people register. This way we can get in touch with you after. We have a periodical called the Cryptic Revealer that comes out monthly that talks about these topics in real time, talks about what's going on in the Black world, the Black community. And we like this. You can get as a digital copy. You can get it as a hard copy. And we ask people to register so we can push it. It is not expensive. It's like $3. It's not like, you know, but it's something that you can get. And then we have the children's edition where the young men and women can kind of fill out puzzles and read from other children that are being raised in this way of thinking, writing articles, speaking to their own, and drawing pictures, speaking to their own. Uh, so we're telling people, please text 646-479-9465, or you can go to Facebook to the Holy Coptic Church. Coptic is Qubtic. Q is in Queen, Qubtic Church on Facebook. You can find us as Coptic TV or QTV on YouTube. You can email Journey Home Group at gmail.com. You can find myself, AJ Varma, Varmah, on Facebook. You can find the Holy Cryptic Church, UK. They are also, or Atlanta, or Connecticut, or Greenville, South. You just type in Cryptic on Facebook, Qubtic, but the international will keep you updated, and then the other pages will share what's on the international, and you can register. And if you are a speaker out there who'd like to be a part of this, it's 3 hours, I think, on Friday, the 8th of December, and about 4.5 hours on the 9th of December. And each 30-minute block is going to be one question, 4 different panelists. You ain't going to see the same panelists. You're going to see some people talking what is manhood as it pertains to fashion, because these skinny jeans is killing me, right? I'm just being honest. The skinny jeans are killing me. I'm like, these, you ain't gonna have no babies when you got your testicles strapped to your belly button. That's not good, right? So we're going to have a whole conversation about reviving manhood as it pertains to fashion. Another 30 minutes will go by or so. We're going to have a conversation about reviving manhood as it pertains to finance. Well, another 30 minutes, we'll revive it. And each time we're bringing 4 different panelists on, a different sister interviewing them, because we want this to be a family affair. And out of it, we want people to join the Holy Coptic Church of the Black Messiah, or join the Moorish Science Temple of America, my brother Reniciel out of Atlanta, Hiru, or join my brother Shemel out of North Carolina, or join the Hebrew Israelites, my brothers Chaziel and them that's out of Damona in Israel, and even down in Zimbabwe and in South Africa. We join, if you want to join the church, there's Reverend Pastor Shipman in Charlotte, North Carolina, or Bishop Caleb Kenja in Houston, outside of Houston, Texas, or Imam Umar, if you're a Muslim, or Brother Mark X. We trying to, with the nation, we trying to make sure we're not just saying it's us, we the only men on the planet. No, we ain't stupid, right? There's other Black men doing great things, but what they all have in common, Brother Crow and Philip, right? They all have faith. We are faith-based men. Our strength, whether we call ourselves Moorish, whether we call ourselves Nation of Islam, whether we call ourselves Sunni Muslim, whether we call ourselves Hebrew Israelite, whatever we call, or Tonis Christian, whatever we call ourselves, we are men of faith. Thus, we are men of purpose. So we're praying people who will see this, and we want to thank you, Sister Zandi, and the Vantage Point for having us here. You know, you're like a national, international spokesperson for righteousness that are going to drive the message, not just of the Holy Coptic Church, but of ladyhood. Right, to set an example. And I know it's not easy, because once you get under that microscope, as a person who's lived under the microscope for the last 38 years, you know, people set you on a pedestal, and then they look to find a way to tear it down. But I can speak for the brothers here. We're going to help to keep you up there, sister, and make sure that you don't get torn down, because if you get torn down, we get torn down. So we're going to stand with yourself and other sisters like yourself, hand in hand, arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder, neck to neck, back to back, ear to mouth, speaking in your ear, and letting you speak in our ears, so we can get this done, because this is our time. The world is ready for this message. All we got to do is keep talking it, keep driving it home. So I want to thank you, myself, to you.
Much
Thank you for having
appreciated.
us.
Much appreciated and humbly received. I want to thank everyone for joining us again, taking the time out your busy schedules. Thank you, Basesh, our Coptic Pope. Thank you, listeners, for joining us each and every week here at the Vantage Point, and just taking time to listen to the message of righteousness, and for helping us spread it. So continue to share, to like, to comment, to subscribe, and to get people to really buy into righteousness today, in this day and time. What we learned today is that there is a difference between a man and a righteous man. We had surely some righteous men with us today. So join us, join the Holy Coptic Church, listen and tune in to the Christ Consciousness Conference. And until next week, all peaceful.